have my brows done. I did those before filming, but nothing else is done. So we're gonna start with the eyes. I'm gonna be using my Too Faced 24-hour Shadow Insurance Primer. I like this one a little bit better than the other one. I've never worn my eyeshadow for 24 hours unless it was an accident. And if I sleep in my makeup, it never looks good at the end. So I don't know about the longevity lasting that long, but I really do like this primer. I think it's a really nice one. If you don't want to do something heavy like a paint pot, or you're not using like a glitter glue or something like that, this is like a nice kind of everyday one that's a little bit more lightweight, you know what I mean? So I am a fan. Don't mind my no nail polish nails. It's just like pure laziness, you know? To set my eyeshadow primer, I'm just going to be using the face powder that I'm going to use to highlight my face. It's just the MAC Studio Fix powder in NC25. Use whichever shade works for you, but this is just usually what I do. I just grab whatever I'm going to be using for my face, whether it be a translucent or whatever, but I want it to match the color that's going to be under my eyes, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna lightly sweep this under my eye just to set that primer under there. And for this tutorial, I definitely want to use this Morphe 35D Dark Smoky palette because it has some of the dark browns and olivey tones that Rihanna, I believe, was wearing. So I'm going to be using that, but there isn't really a transition shade in here, so I am going to grab Beaches and Cream by Makeup Geek. You don't need to use this particular one, just whatever you have. It can be a little bit darker than this, a little bit more red, whatever. You're honestly not going to see much of this at all. Now I'm just using a Smith 230 blending brush and just applying this shade kind of inner to outer corner. And I'm just going to kind of start mapping out the shape. Again, you're not going to see a ton of this, so if you want kind of more training wheels, you might want to choose a shade that's a little bit darker so you can kind of see what you're doing a little bit more. I'm just, as you can see, just winging it out a little bit and going inner to outer corner pretty heavily, and that should give us a good base to start out with. Before we get into any of the darker shades, I'm just going to quickly highlight my brow bone using the new Makeup Geek and Kathleen Lights highlighter palette. This one is, I believe, in stock on the website, so I'll link it down below for you guys if you're interested. But I'm just going to use the lightest shade of the champagnes to highlight my brow bone just really lightly. So I'm going to be using the Morphe 35D palette, and first I'm going to grab this dark brown along the top. It's like a warm chocolate brown, and I'm using the same Smith 235 brush. I like this brush because it has a nice kind of tapered point, so I'm just going to kind of throw this starting right into my crease. You don't have to be precise here. This isn't anything extremely defined. It's like a nice kind of wash of dark smokiness, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just throwing this in my crease, inner to outer corner, making sure to really buff it in this inner corner because Rihanna's smoky eye did go all in, you know what I'm saying? And then I'm just going to, with what's left of my brush, kind of lightly map out the shape. And I'm just going to kind of build little by little because I am working with darker colors here, and it's much easier to add more than to have to figure out a way to magically take some off. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm going to stop here only momentarily and lay down that same color all over the lid before I continue. I'm using the Smith 253, the flat shader brush. I love this one. It's really, really, really soft. And the bristles kind of grab a lot of pigment, do you know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of quick and easy, you know what I mean? I'm liking how this is coming along so far, but Rihanna had a little bit more warmth in the crease, and there isn't really a warm color in this palette, like a really warm color like this. So I'm using Makeup Geek's Morocco. Whatever kind of orange or orangey brown shade you have will work fine. I'm just going to use a Smith 247 brush. This is what it looks like here, just like a little blending brush. And I'm going to sweep this really lightly through the crease just to warm everything up, as you see here. You see what that did? Like, nothing crazy, not super orange, it just kind of warmed it up. And now we need to start to add a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to use my finger with this kind of olivey shade right here. And I'm just going to pat this onto the center of my lid just to add a little bit of shine, a little bit of brightness. It's not going to be extreme, but it is going to create a little bit more dimension here. And now for even more depth, I'm using this almost black brown and a Sigma E36. And I'm going to kind of deepen up the outer corner out here, wing it out slightly, but just add a little to again create some dimension. But it still kind of just looks like a wash of color. Do you know what I mean? I don't want kind of paint by number segments here. I want it to kind of all blend together nicely. And for the lower lash line, Rihanna had a nice kind of pretty olive color it looked like. So I'm going to use this olive here that I used for my lid, but I'm going to use a little bit of this one here to kind of brighten up that color. And I'm using a Morphe E18 brush for this. I really love this brush for lower lash line shit, you know what I mean? It's so soft too, which I really like. There's nothing worse than applying makeup to your lower lash line with like a scratchy ass brush. And now I'm just kind of quickly applying mascara to my lashes before I apply falsies. I'm going to be using the Iris Beauty Empress lashes. I like these because they're still dense and dramatic, but they're not super long, so they're more on the natural side. Alright, so this is what we have so far. And we definitely need to move on to skin now, okay? Thank you. For foundation, we are going to be using my favorite powder foundation. This is by Tarte. It's the Confidence Creamy Powder Foundation. Mine is so dirty. I'm using the shade Medium Neutral. I've hit pan a while ago, and I'm just applying it with my Morphe E44. I don't have a discount code for them, you guys, so that's not why I'm slinging the Morphe products today. I just really like some of their shit, and it's really cheap. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to, you know what I mean? So I'm just kind of buffing this foundation everywhere. I really like this color for me in particular because it almost works for me when I'm really fair, when I don't have a sunless tan, and it's not super extremely full coverage, so that when I do have a sunless tan and I am quite a bit darker than this, it still kind of works without leaving my face too bright, you know what I mean? So I like it because with powder foundation, it's not as easy to mix colors as it is with liquids, and I've just really been digging the powders lately. I prefer how they look on me, to be totally honest, right now that my skin has changed to like more oily combo. And it lasts a lot longer too, and it wears off a lot more gracefully than liquids do. Plus, it's fucking fast. I mean, look at this shit. That's like done. Okay, thank you so much, bye. But because I love to highlight, I'm going to be using my MAC Studio Fix powder in NC25 is the shade I chose to use today. This one switches depending on where's my brush? On how fair or tan I am, you know what I mean? I just use a Sigma tapered highlight brush to do this part, and I'm just going to kind of sweep the color under my eyes in my highlight zone. You see how that already brightened up my face? I like this product rather than the Tarte one for this because it has a bit more pigment to it. It's a little bit more full coverage. It is more drying, so I don't like to use it all over my face because I am still pretty dry in the lower half of my face, and it can be a little bit uncomfortable to wear like a really kind of drying powder unless you do like heavy moisturization, and I don't know. Even then, I feel like that only goes so far. So that is why I use the two different products. Ugh, I love this routine. If you guys want to see kind of like a more in-depth routine using powders only, I do have it. So I'll try to remember to link that down below for you guys too. That does include a little bit of color correcting, which I didn't do today because I have such a heavy smoky eye on. I just basically covered up my under eye circles with olive eyeshadow. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna brighten up my upper lip lightly, but I don't want too much powder here because it starts to look a little weird. I want to go in between my brows down my nose, and actually I go on the sides a little bit too to kind of cancel out some of that redness that still peeks through. And I'm gonna brighten up my chin a little. To bronze up my face, I'm going to be using Dark Cocoa. It's kind of like a contour powder or bronzer, kind of all in one. This is from the Too Faced Cocoa Contour Kit. This is kind of like an instant fave of mine. The first time I used it, I was like, yes. And I'm using a Sigma soft angled contour brush to do this. I'm just kind of, you know, stippling this on the outer portions of my face to warm it up. I like to keep most of the pigment towards my hairline. I'm a person who doesn't like kind of the stripes going everywhere, but Rihanna did have kind of a pretty strong contour, so I will go a little bit more hard today, but with the bronzer, I still kind of like to hug the perimeter, you know what I mean? Almost done. Okay, now to carve out my cheekbones, I'm going to be using medium cocoa. This is much cooler, but it still works for me when my skin is a little bit deeper. As long as I'm not bringing it up too far, I'm just kind of strictly using it as a shadow. It really works nicely just to kind of deepen your cheekbone shadow. What? So I'm gonna do a little bit more than I normally do, of course, because this is kind of like an inspired tutorial, not just a Megan McTaggart tutorial. And because Rihanna doesn't have two chins like I do, I'm gonna contour my jawline. And I'm just using that same powder. And actually what I do personally, because I kind of have like these little jowl situations, so I just shade over them. Only goes so far, unfortunately. And what this doesn't fix, Face 2 will. And we'll do a little bit of a nose contour using that same really cool shade. I love this powder for nose contouring. It's kind of similar to the Pixie one that I always tell you guys about, the natural contour powder that I love. It's kind of really similar in tone. So if you already have that one and you don't have this palette, feel free to use that one, because I still stand by that one as well. I'm just using a little blending eyeshadow brush, just whichever one I grab. I'm not picky with the brushes usually for this kind of job, so as long as it's not too stiff, you know? I don't like a really, God, I'm like a broken record. I don't like a really harsh contour on any part of my body. I'm gonna go back into this Makeup Geek shade right here, and I'm using the Morphe G19, just like a little tiny brush. And do you see where my nose like wants to be highlighted right here? I'm gonna bring it a little bit higher. I also have a bump here, so I'm gonna highlight just below the bump to kind of help lift that and make my nose appear a little bit more straight. Just gonna highlight a tiny bit on my upper lip with that same shade, and then I'm going to do the tops of my cheekbones. Rihanna didn't have a ton of highlight on, but it looked like she definitely did have some, so I'm gonna keep it, I was just gonna say I was gonna keep it light, but I love these highlighters, you guys. I cannot wait for Makeup Geek to come out with like a full shade range. I'm just so impressed. This is just my jam. Oh, yes. And for blush, I'm just going to be using Milani's Luminoso. She just had like a really nice kind of warm blush on, and I'm using my really dirty Sigma E40 to do the job. This blush is so pretty. And Rihanna's lip was really dark, so I'm gonna go in with Cyber by MAC. It's like a deep, deep purple. I'm hoping it will be deep enough. I was trying to figure out which color she was wearing, and it looked to be more purple rather than like red, like an ox blood, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so that is the final look. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not a subscriber already. Please share it with your friends. It helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate it when you guys do. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
is gone. I've never felt this way before, and now I know this all for sure.